Places, everybody, and action. Hello, I'm Billy, and I'm your host for Show and Tell. Today I'm going to have some of my prior guests coming back and chatting with me. We're going to do a sort of holiday knit and chat party, which was suggested by one of my very early guests, Jessie, and she'll be joining us. You'll get to meet her again and several of the other gals. So this podcast generally is about vintage knitting. We're all either knitting from original vintage patterns or modern reproductions of those patterns. And a lot of us have a vintage aesthetic even when we're not wearing our hand knits. So today I'm sporting some street clothes, not hand knits. But it's because it's a special holiday tribute and we're all going to have our cocktails with us because we are celebrating, hooray, the end of this year of nightmares and hoping that 2021 will bring wonderful things. So without further ado, let me just say you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as billietoy. And I'm going to just head on over to my friends. See you in a minute. I'll be right back. Okay, so welcome everyone. I know we're still missing one person, maybe she'll pop in, but just to kick things off, I'm going to ask you all one at a time to introduce yourselves because I have met each of you on a prior episode, but you have not met one another. So I know Danielle said that her sons might be coming home from school. She excused herself. She's going to be right back. But it's great that you all have your names here so I can see who you are. All right, Michele, go ahead. Say hello and your name and what part of the world you are dialing in from today.
Hi ladies, I'm Michele Mark from Michele Mark Knitwear. I have a shop on Etsy and I'm dialing in from the United Kingdom in Westcliff-on-Sea in Essex.
And what time of day is it where you are?
It's just gone, it's 8:05 in the evening.
In the evening.
Yes.
Okay. Danielle, you're back, but you're on mute. All right, should I skip you?
Just my kids. I'm Danielle Hegedus. I am the Darning Darling on Instagram, and I recognize some of you from there. So I think I follow Liz, maybe.
I think I follow you too.
And it's 1 o'clock here. And
in what part of Canada?
Alberta.
Can you turn up your volume a little bit?
Hopefully that might be better.
Is that the max?
Is my clock too loud, by the way? Okay, because sometimes when I have video meetings on here, people are like, that clock.
No, we got too many people going on. I don't know. I don't hear it at all.
Okay.
Okay, so Liz, go ahead.
Hi, I am Liz Von Villas, and I'm at Liz Von Villas on Instagram and YouTube, and yeah, just at Liz Von Villas everywhere. Sorry about that. What else? Well, I'm in Orlando, and it is 3:07, Orlando, Florida.
In case people haven't been there for Disney and other attractions. Jessie.
Everyone, my name is Jessie Adderholt. I am so excited to meet all of you and kind of feel like I have a little vintage knitting community. This is really, really I am on Ravelry under my name, Jessie Adderholt. Or actually, no, sorry, it's AJessNinji, but that's posted in my video, so it's easy to find. And I've already friended some of you on Ravelry. And I'm in California and in Anaheim, so I'm near the other Disney. And it is noon for me.
And I'm Billy. I'm in New York, where it is 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So welcome, everyone. This whole idea is Jessie's. I don't want to steal her thunder. I think it's a brilliant idea. that she gave
Definitely.
me to invite my guests back. And I hope everybody has their knitting and that you can just sit and knit while we chat. But I guess to get things kicked off, I wanted to say this is probably the worst year of all of our lives. But 100 years ago, 1920, was also a very, very special time. And I have a feeling that people 100 years ago were saying, this is the worst year, because there
Yeah.
was the Spanish flu pandemic, which took the lives of many, many people. So maybe this won't happen again for another 100 years. We can keep our fingers crossed maybe. But the other things that are notable for me in particular for 1920 is that it was the year that my father was born. My dad passed away just about 6 years ago. He was 94, so he would have been 100 this year. He almost made it. I was really rooting for him. I thought he could do it. The other thing that was happening in 1920, at least in the United States, was the 18th Amendment, which brought in prohibition. No alcohol for over a decade. So having said that, because it's 5 o'clock somewhere,
Well, actually, I've got a sherry, so I can join you.
I have my cocktail celebrating drinking is legal. I didn't spike it yet because I wanted to just show what I'm putting in here. So a little
Wow.
vodka. I very rarely buy tonic because it's so loaded with sugar, and the sugar-free tonic is really, it's not good.
Yeah, I don't like it either. No.
But I had to go to the
do.
supermarket recently, and I bought tonic so that I could have a little drinky poo. Oh, I don't have a stir. Oops. My knitting needle.
Yeah.
I once went out on a date with a guy who used his finger.
Oh, no.
He served me a drink in his house, and he used his finger to stir it. I guess I have to do that because, sorry.
Did you go out with him again, Billy? After
I didn't.
that?
Not because of that. I didn't. So, cheers, everyone. I
Yeah.
hope that the year ahead is a much better one for all of us.
I'm sure it will be, Billy. Plenty of knitting and
Wow, that is
good company.
potent.
As long as we keep knitting and keep socializing with people and just think positive things, and it will be a good year. Actually, Billy, did you know that it's winter solstice on the 21st of December?
I didn't happen to recollect that fact, but
And do you know that we enter the age of Aquarius?
Age of Aquarius.
Yes. Yes, and you know what? And you know what else is going to happen? Jupiter is going to align with Mars.
Oh my goodness.
So this is a big event for astronomy. Is it astronomy? Yeah. So yeah, look out for that alignment, because I believe it might be like a big, bright, shining star in the sky. But yeah, it's supposed to be quite a spiritual awakening as well for many people.
Maybe where you are, you can see stars in the sky. Unfortunately, in Manhattan, because of
No?
our pollution, I see the moon. I see the moon very clearly. I can see the moon many nights just from my bed if I look out the window. Very rarely am I going to see more than a couple of stars. Satellites, I see. But
Yeah, we
probably in
see
Orlando,
satellites.
you can see stuff, and I bet out in California you can see, and in Alberta you probably have a nice clear sky.
Well, I live near a really big city, so you have to drive out into the country.
Oh, really?
But it's not too far, 15 minutes.
Is there industry? There's like factories and stuff in Alberta that are polluting?
No, it's light pollution from just how large the city is.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that why I can't see stars? I don't know. Definitely in New York, since this pandemic, there's far fewer vehicles, a lot fewer. They've expanded restaurants since the restaurants can't do indoor seating. They've built tents and kiosks right out into the street on the blacktop where cars would normally be driving because there's so many fewer cars. So all these restaurants, it's like the whole city is like a Parisian boulevard with outdoor cafes. And a lot of them have started putting in these heaters so people will be able to sit outside in the cold weather and have some kind of heat shining down on them.
Mind you, are you having snow? Have you got snow at the moment?
Yes, we had a little snow yesterday. They were predicting a lot, but we didn't get nearly as much as they were forecasting. So
that's lucky.
I haven't been out. It doesn't faze me. Let it snow, let it snow. I don't care. We're not going anywhere, so it doesn't matter. And because we're in an apartment building, we don't have to worry about shoveling it. We don't have a car, so we don't have to worry about shoveling our car out to go anywhere. It's a very specific lifestyle here.
Of course, you probably don't have to drive anywhere to go, you know, local. Do you do your local food shop?
On foot. On foot. There are stores
On
within
foot.
a block or two. Do you all have Trader Joe's? Well, not in the UK. In Canada, do they have Trader Joe's? No. I know in California you do, and in Florida I think you do as well. It's this chain all across the United States, and they have really great products. A lot of them are private label, like they do interesting chocolates and Chinese food and Mexican food. I mean, all different ethnic foods, and their packaging is specific. The graphic art on the packaging. Anyway, it's a fabulous store. If you come to the States, find one. The way the store is laid out and decorated is also really adorable. There's one, we're so lucky, there's one 2.5 blocks away. So it's like a 2-minute walk. And it has pretty much everything that we need. We don't have to go any further than that. We buy our coffee there. They have coffee beans. They have a grinder if you want to grind it. They have everything. It's great.
Brilliant. Well, that's good. So you're all sorted, really, then?
Oh, yeah. Everything is right here. Shoe repair places, movie theaters a few blocks away, dry cleaners, all the amenities that you all have to get in your car and drive to are just outside.
Mind you, I can walk to our local shops. We do have shops locally that I walk to. Like we have a post office and we have a few supermarkets. We call them supermarkets in the UK. So yeah, we do have quite a few things that are local. So if we run out of anything, then we can just walk there.
It's great.
It's quite handy. Yeah, when it's snowing and, you know, you don't want to get the car out, then you can just walk. So that's what I tend to do. I like walking.
So what is everybody working on? Let's share our knitting.
Well, I'm knitting my husband a cardigan and I'm knitting the sleeves together, but I'm using 3 needles instead of 2 because it's quite heavy. So I've knitted these 2 sleeves and they're quite chunky sleeves, but it's like a jacket. It's like a jacket, really. So yeah, it's a nice rust and like a khaki green.
Oh, it looks really nice, like a houndstooth almost. That's what's coming across.
Yeah, I mean this pattern, what I do is it comes from a plain. The actual pattern I'm using is this one. It's that one here, what the man's wearing. But I've used the pattern from another pattern I had just to give it 2 colours. It makes it chunkier and a bit more texture. And I get bored knitting with one colour. I like to knit with more than one colour. So it just gives me a bit more interest when I'm knitting. So yeah, so once I've finished these, which will probably be this weekend, I can sew them up. And then all I've got to do is the collar and the zip band. So I've got a zip, and the zip's actually a rust, like an open-ended zip. So Yeah, it came today. I kept chasing them because they sent the wrong zip to begin with. They sent me one that wasn't open-ended. And I said, oh, it's for a project for my husband. It's his Christmas present. Please, can you send the proper one? And I was panicking that they weren't going to send it in time. So because I was worried, I ended up ordering a khaki one from someone else on eBay. So I've got a khaki one coming as well. But we can, if it comes, you know, before Christmas, and he can decide if he wants this one or if he wants the khaki one instead. So it means that maybe I'll have to knit him another one in like a plain khaki or a rust at some point. Or maybe I could knit one and just sell it on Etsy for men. I don't knit many men's projects because they take so long, because men are bigger, and it, you know, I hate things that are really big, and then it's hard to guess how many balls of wool you need. I mean, for myself, I only really need 500 grams of wool in anything for an actual sweater project.
But you're smart. I think you can figure this out. I don't know if you saw the time where I showed my spreadsheet. I got this idea from Roxanne Richardson. I don't know if any of you watch
I know,
her podcast.
yeah, I've seen Roxanne. She's amazing, isn't she?
She's off
done
the
all
chart.
the training. She's done all the exams, and
she's really
amazing.
Brilliant. So she showed how she does this spreadsheet, and I kind of, you know, copied her concept. It was very, very helpful when I was knitting something from a vintage pattern that didn't specify how much yarn you needed, and I wasn't using the yarn that was called for anyway because it, you know, it's discontinued 50 years ago. So what I did was I knit something with the yarn, and I figured out, you know, in a certain length of yarn, how many stitches did I get? And then I went row by row through the pattern, put it on a spreadsheet, and I saw my entire sweater was, I think, like 100,000 stitches. So I was able to back into exactly how much yarn I needed, and it came out within a quarter of a ball. Came out just right. You can watch that episode. I think it's the one right before.
I think that's one of your first.
I think it's my podcast number 2.
Was it one of your first videos?
Yes, where I knit from a real vintage pattern, not a modern interpretation of vintage 1940s pattern. And it was just a little bit of a strange experience for me because there were parts that I'd never seen before, like the way the collar, the notch in the collar, how the collar was assembled, it was folded over. Everything had facings that you knit down the front and you folded it back. You knit an extra piece at the bottom and made a hem. It was really like couture, but all of those extra stitches. So if you watch that, you might get the idea of how to do a spreadsheet. Anyway, Danielle, do you have your knitting? Are you going to show us?
So I'm knitting a sweater for my little son, and I'll just show you the main pattern because I'm not doing this, but I've knit this one twice for one of my boys.
Is that a Mary Maxim?
Darling Deviance.
Oh.
Yeah. It's on Ravelry. And it's one of the only ones that I could find that uses like really chunky wool. So before I show it, actually, he wanted all kinds of things. He kind of wanted all rainbow colors and not the Canada theme at all. So I sat down with him and we made his own little sweater.
Aww.
That is so cute.
I talked him out of a few things. So we went with fish on the front. Still his own colors. So this is the back.
That's
and it's
lovely. That's really cute.
Beautiful.
Lovely colour. I like the colours.
Well, he picked them all out, and to be honest, the shelves were so bare when we picked out that he wanted the light blue, and I'm afraid you can't see it well, not like a usual cowichan, but he loves it. So hopefully he actually wears it.
Oh, you'll have to take pictures of him wearing it.
Oh, I will, yeah. So I've been knitting that by hand, which is actually quite laborious for me if my hands are not quite well yet, but I did that one in the last 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks, I did it just like 6 rows a day, and then I've taken a week off to recuperate, so.
Do you do any kind of therapy? Like I saw somebody, I don't know if it was maybe Fruity Knitting, they had this guy Carson.
Yeah, I saw that.
Something like
Yeah.
he has a book on exercises, how to stretch and how to do different things before you knit that stretches out those muscles.
Okay, I'm not familiar with his, but yeah, I have stretches that I have to do and that have been assigned to me, and it's just being aware, I think, of posture and also stretching, and then just not overdoing it, because I do many things that all require technical finger work, and then I just have that kind of hyper focus when you get into something. I don't know that it's been an hour and a half since I sat down to do something, and actually typing destroys me and I can't avoid it that much, so it's been busy.
I think it's something very interesting. I knit all day long, off and on. I mean, I may be like taking a break to check emails or look on Instagram or whatever. But I think it's how I knit that is not, it's not really active. It's very smooth. There's not a lot of movement going on.
Yeah.
There are different techniques, aren't there, that you can try, that whatever works better for you. So maybe it's worth just trying different techniques to take the stress off of your hands.
I mean, I don't know if you can see. Let me see if I can get some of my knitting here. It's interesting to see how other people knit. So here's a knit stitch. Can you see it?
Yeah, that looks really simple.
Not much is moving.
No, holding up my finger for periods of time like that, I can't do it.
A lot of people do keep their finger down, but I've been doing this for 50 years, so it's not
strong.
it's not.
I've flipped with my thumbs, I've thrown with this hand, I've tried all the methods. It's just, there's something about my anatomy that my muscles don't relax. So I have to physically pull off and relax them, and then, yeah, take a break. Anyway, that's enough about me.
All right, Liz, let's see what you got.
So I don't know if this is sacrilege, but I'm crocheting, not knitting. I had intended to totally frog that Betty and Judy Lodge sweater that I started.
Why?
Oh, because it was way too big.
Oh.
And I started it like, I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, but it's been in progress for a long time, and I'm a lot better at fitting now than I used to be, and I've also changed sizes a little bit, so I just figured I was going to rip it all out, and I just haven't yet, and I might do that and like try to do a really last minute Christmas little short sleeve sweater, but I wanted to focus on the crochet snowflakes, so that's I kind of put the knitting to the side to do the crochet.
Did you crochet the snowflakes that are on your jacket?
I did, yes.
No, it's pretty. I like that.
Lovely.
Really nice.
She also sewed that bolero too, right?
I did. I sewed the bolero too. And actually, these snowflakes are my own design. So
wow.
Snowflakes.
Lovely.
Thank you. And this year I'm like, okay, I feel like I actually can make them myself, like design myself. So I've done that, and I'm very proud of these. And I'm just making some little teeny tiny, I just made these little teeny tiny things. See, like those ones. For the back, I'm gonna do one of these and then 2 of those, like to either side. Just, I'm not sure if I'm gonna do kind of near the top or near the bottom, but we'll see.
Those would make great earrings.
I was thinking that actually. Yeah.
Just put a little wire through and you got an earring.
Yeah.
I bet you could sell those too. I bet you'd make a killing.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if I don't know. I'm kind of lazy like that. Like, I don't want to have to
Sell the
make
pattern.
it. I just want to make it for myself. I do actually have the pattern available. It's in my Instagram and my links in my bio, if anyone is interested. There's 5 different patterns, and then I have a YouTube video too about how to make 2 of them. So,
Wow.
in case anyone's interested.
Wow, I feel like a slacker.
Yeah.
Jessie,
Oh,
last
Michelle,
but not least.
well, speaking of the Betty and Judy Lodge sweater, I finished mine this morning.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank
The
you.
colors, I love that.
That's
Thank
the
you.
color.
I know. I like I see a lot of bright red versions on social media and Ravelry, and they're super cute, but it's not a super flattering color on me. So I went with like, it's actually kind of, I'm noticing it's not showing great on the screen.
Like
but
a
it's
cranberry.
yeah,
Yeah.
heather cranberry, and I'm super happy with it. So that's really exciting. And at the very moment, I'm working on a blanket.
Oh, wow. That's a challenge.
Yeah, I just, it's a chunky knit, so it's going pretty quickly. It's also a very, very easy pattern, just knits and purls. And I wanted something cozy for my cold California winters.
Hey, it's 63 here today, and I'm cold.
Oh, wow.
You're lucky. It's low 70s by me.
I don't even know what the temperature is here. Do you know, Barry? Is it in the 30s today?
I don't know what it is.
It's cold here, but I don't go out, so it doesn't matter.
Well, I popped out this afternoon, but I did have a duffel coat on, but it wasn't that cold.
Yeah, it says it's 40 degrees here, Fahrenheit, so. But people don't wear coats yet here.
Oh, they're so rugged and hardy, those Canadians, huh?
So, Billy,
No,
you've seen this one, haven't you, that I started?
That's so pretty.
No, wow.
It's from a 1980s Jaeger. So but it wasn't until I started knitting it that I realised that it didn't have any armhole shaping. It was literally just straight, and the armholes were just straight. So it was like a T, like, you know, in the 80s.
Yes.
You had sort of off the shoulder.
Drop shoulder. Mm-hmm.
And that's not my style. So I thought, I'm going to have to adjust this pattern to give it a bit of an armhole. So I had to do a bit of calculating. Don't ask me how I did it. But now, sometimes when I start a pattern, and I did a swatch, I thought, right, this is my swatch, this is a needle size. But as obviously when you do fair roll, it knits tighter, doesn't it? So as I'm gradually knitting, I kept thinking, I don't think this is going to be big enough. So I've actually gone up half a needle size along the way. I've obviously made a note what row I've had to go up a needle size, but I was just worried that I was going to be too tight around the chest. So I've actually gone up a whole needle size by the time I've got to the armhole shaping, but it doesn't notice. Funnily enough, it doesn't notice that it's, you know, a bigger needle size.
Right, not a half a size like that.
No, I mean, you know, it's a gradual, you know, you sort of go, if you do it in gradual, like sort of just as you get to the armhole, just go up slightly, a smaller, like, you know, a larger size. I think that works. So that's I think that might be a good tip for anyone else that starts something and thinks, I should have had a bigger needle size. Just go up, you know, as long as you make a note of what row you increase the needle size, then I think that's a good way to cheat, really. Otherwise you end up having to undo the whole thing and start again. Especially fair roll. I mean, it takes ages to sit and do a fair roll. Like, against the graph. So it's a similar graph.
I'm so fascinated that your Fair Isle is tight and you went up a needle size, because for me, whenever I do color work, I have such problem with my tension and getting bumpy color work that I try to keep all my floats and really loose, and then my stuff comes out bigger. So I actually go down a needle size.
Oh, right.
Color
I
work.
think I'm a tight knitter though. I think that might be why. I mean, that's the back of it. So that's how the back is. So I tend to, when you have to work 2 colours, I go every 3 stitches, and then I do the twist, and just so it keeps it, I know it's a lot of messing around, but I just find every 3 stitches, then sort of alternate. And obviously with this pattern, you've got to work both colours along each row. You can't just pick up one. And so, it's quite a challenge. And you can't just sit and watch something on, on television. You've actually got to sit there and concentrate. So as I've got to finish my husband's present in time for Christmas, that's getting my full attention. And then once that's finished, I can go back to this one. So, has anyone got any plans for next year? Any sort of super projects they want to do?
Well, you know that I am just waiting. I got the yarn for the Mary Maxim. Michele gifted me a Mary Maxim pattern because we had a conversation about some sweater that I really liked, and she's like, "Oh," and next thing I know, she sent it to me in the mail. Really. So that moved to the top of my to-do list. But I had a really hard time. I wanted to go with a particular handbag that's a tooled leather, like luggage color. And I looked online, it's chunky yarn. There aren't as many choices as there are with fingering and DK. So I found something that on my computer screen, I thought the 2 colors I chose, 3 colors rather, I thought they looked good. But when they arrived, very orange and very yellow. It wasn't the honey color that I was expecting, and sort of like a mustardy color. It was really bright, not good colors.
Oh, no.
I haven't sent it back yet, but I'm waiting for my new yarn to come in. But that is next up, and I'll probably put this aside to get started on that.
Billy, you like Art Deco.
Love.
Well, I thought I'd show you something that I've got that I've had for a few years now. Have you heard of Artica Designs?
No.
Well, there's this woman on the internet. It's called Artica Designs, and she sells graph patterns of Art Deco, like this one. You'll love this one. She sells graphs of all these, and it's called Artica Designs.
Wow.
And that's one of my challenges for next year. I want to knit that one on a sweater. So what I've done, I've actually duplicated it on a big graph paper. It took me quite a while, so I could just repeat it to get a picture of what it actually looks like on a larger scale. Because that's the problem with these little graphs. They're tiny, aren't they? And so I want to see what it's going to look like.
You know, there's software. There's free software called, oh boy, now that I open my mouth. I'll look for it. Something like stitchpattern.com, something like that. I have something because the pattern that you sent me, I wanted to see my colors. So cool. I kind of copied their graph into this Stitch Fiddle, maybe it's called. But then I could see how it's going to look. Like Danielle, your son's sweater, imagine if you could have seen those colors before you knit them, everything in place.
I don't know. I used a program that I don't know if anybody uses programs to like create the colors, but it printed out in black and white, but on the screen it had these colors in there. I just didn't add the blue because I had no idea what he wanted for the background. I was hoping for cream.
I'm going to see if I can find my little picture and share that with you. Oh boy, am I going to lose you all while I go and do this?
I know there's some pretty good software, so I don't know if anyone has suggestions, but the one I used, it was supposed to coincide with Ravelry, so you could add it right into your projects.
Knit Companion.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
So that was my first go at the software thing, and that was all right. It's better than graph paper.
Knit Companion is fabulous. If you're doing something complicated, you have your chart on your screen and you can slide down as you complete.
The thing is, though, I like to do things the old-fashioned way, and I find it quite therapeutic because it's quite artistic, isn't it? Sort of with graph paper and, you know, and it makes you use your brain as well because you've got to follow, you've got to duplicate that pattern. So I kind of found it quite, you know, quite therapeutic doing it by hand.
Yeah.
I'm going to disappear for a minute, I think. You'll probably still see me, but I'm going to navigate away and see if I can get this up on my screen. So carry on. I'll be right back. Oh, I can't minimize.
Liz, I love your sewing room.
Oh, thanks. It's a huge mess. I was like, you know, looking at the preview before I went live in here, and I'm like, oh, God. Okay, well,
it looks like you've been busy. At least you're busy by the looks of it. So you do dressmaking as well, don't you?
Yeah, sewing is definitely my main jam, I like to say. But I do you know, knitting and crochet on occasion, but sewing is where it's at.
So do you sort of take orders from sort of friends, or you don't? Do you just make things and then sell them? Do you just actually feel, right, I'm going to make some of these and then I'm going to sell them?
I mean, like all the crochet snowflakes, for example, I've just been making those for gifts, for Christmas gifts. And I've been giving those now for a few years, and people seem to really like them. So, and then I did knit my friend a cardigan that was actually in my interview with Billy. I talked about that, but other than that, I don't knit for other people, really. I don't make other things for other people. My husband, if he's lucky, will get something sometimes. I just like making stuff for myself because I know it's gonna fit, and if it doesn't fit, I can fit or just throw it in the corner. You know?
Yeah, I must admit, I do sell on Etsy, but I did start to take orders quite a few years ago, but I find it's not as enjoyable if someone's dictating to you as to what to knit for them. I suppose you could call it quite selfish, really.
Oh yeah.
I have to feel, you know, certain things that I want to, you know, I have to be in the mood to knit a certain style at a certain time with a certain colour. Mm-hmm. So I just don't think it would be as good fun to have to knit for people with whatever they want you to knit. You know, maybe if I was doing it, you know, I mean, I've got a job, so this is just a hobby for me. So maybe if I was doing it, you know, I had to earn money from it, then maybe I'd have to start thinking, well, maybe I should just knit whatever anybody wants me to knit for them. But until such time, I will just carry knitting at my own pace.
So here's my chart. You can see it on your screen, right?
Yep.
And it is called Stitch Fiddle, stitchfiddle.com. Right. You can create your own charts. So you can put in every box exactly what you want. I pulled this from Mary Maxim. I mean, I have more of it, but, you know, without giving away the whole pattern.
Yeah.
So
So how long would that take you to do that then, Billy?
well, this was a little complicated because I didn't like their horse. So I was kind of like tweaking the horse as I laid it in. But you do like broad brush strokes where you can lay in a whole section at once, you know, sort of you click and drag, and you can create your own colors. There's like a palette. You choose from a million colors or you blend your own. So here I was playing with, like, did I want a sort of aqua color, or did I want to go with this mint green? And I was trying, you know, experimenting with black and charcoal versus brown. But I ended up with, I think, these three colors: brown, green, and this sort of caramel color, because I thought that goes best with the handbag. But yeah, I mean, you can just put anything on here. So those Art Deco patterns, if you wanted to see it repeat 100 times, you could copy it and just keep going, you know, copy, 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 and repeat it without having to do it all by hand.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, it means that when you're actually doing the pattern, you'd have to have your computer open to follow it, wouldn't you? Unless, I suppose, you could print it. So do you normally print it off after? You don't?
I try and be paperless as much as I can. I hardly have any patterns printed out. Mostly they're on Ravelry. And then I do put them in Knit Companion, so I have it on my phone. So if I'm out and about, which isn't happening these days, I can just scroll down to where I am. And the thing is, you know, I'm sort of, I guess, the queen of getting to a point where I'm frustrated and I put it aside for 6 months. The great thing about Knit Companion is when you come back to it 6 months from now, excuse me, your place is saved for you.
Oh, right. Wow. Yeah, I'm I think I'm too antiquated. Like, I sort of go with the vintage knitting patterns, I think, because I do it how the women back in the 40s and 50s would have knitted it. So I'm not quite up with the computer age, I think.
So you mean when we open the dictionary and we look up old school, your picture is right there?
I think I am old school, I think. And I know a lot of people, I watch Fruity, I started watching Fruity Knitting from the beginning, and I'm on about episode either in the 40s or 50s. And I know a lot of people, modern knitters, do steeking, don't they? Have you ever done that, Billy?
I have never steeked, but I've watched her. I've watched other people do it. I would venture to do it if I had that kind of a project. But more than that, I'm interested in being able to graft. And I was trying to graft this, which is the bottom of my sweater, to the shoulders, which I've already knit. And it
that looks complicated. That looks really.
It wasn't coming out. Oh. This is a size 3 US needle, 3.25 millimeter, and the stitches are really tiny, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah,
I'm probably 160 stitches now.
That's really challenging.
It just no, it wasn't. It didn't look good enough, so I thought, oh, I might just have to rip the whole top part and redo that. But you know, at the end of the day, you spend so much time, you want it to look good. So if I have to rip it out and redo it, I think that's worth it. As soon as I get to the end of this row, I'm going to show you what my current thinking is about this crazy project that I bit off more than I could chew. I'm knitting from the bottom up, and I want the sleeves to not have any shoulder. I just want it to be like, kind of like a dolman, but not a real big dolman. I'm copying the top of an evening gown of some 1930s socialite. And I showed this in one of my episodes. So I don't know, I started with the top because I thought that was more complicated and I wanted to nail that down. But eventually I got frustrated, so I put that aside, which I'll show you in a minute. And then I decided, well, let me see if I can knit the back and maybe get the back to be right, and then I can match the front up to the back. So 5 more stitches and I'll be able to hold this up, because I'm knitting in the round on a very long cable, and until you're at the end of the row, it's hard to show when it's flat. Okay, here we go. All right, so let me see if you'll be able to understand. This, that's the ribbing at the bottom of the back. This would be the side seam, and then this would be the underarm. And this thing that I'm holding out to the side, that's my sleeve.
Right. Actually, that looks like the last project I knitted for one of my clients, which was you knitted, you know, you didn't sort of have pieces for the arms, you actually increased.
Right, I'm adding on 6 stitches every row, at the beginning of every row. And hopefully at some point I'll be the length of my sleeve. I need a couple more inches, I think. And then I'm gonna knit up and start curving for the shoulder. What I did was, this is a little embarrassing, but I took some of my husband's old undershirts. We recycle fabric in our apartment building. Any clothing, even handbags, leather boots, any type of fabric, feather pillows. We have a big recycling bin. It's shut down now during the pandemic because the company that picks up isn't picking up. But this would go into fabric recycling. So I took a couple of his old undershirts and I cut them up to make myself like a dummy that I could try on. And when I tried it on, I saw it was really big, so I pinned up the back. I mean, unlike Liz, I'm not from the seamstresses. So this is kind of, you know, touch and go, and I'm tinkering. And then I could see that the sleeve was a little too tight in the armhole, so I was able to enlarge it. I put my own little faux gusset in there. But I'm just trying to get a shape to work off of, like a sort of a pattern that I can match my knitting up to. I'll show you the front, because I really
And
labored
also,
over
Billy,
that.
with the sleeves, Billy, you've got to make sure that they're wide enough, because sometimes you can run into trouble if your sleeve isn't wide enough, and it will be quite tight on your arms.
And I have large arms. I don't have a dainty,
so
delicate
that's
arm.
the challenge, isn't it? Just to make sure that you increase it enough so that so you're knitting the front and the back separately.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here's, I don't know if you'll be able to see this. This is the front. And unfortunately, it's not exactly what I was hoping. This is mohair. I was really hoping for it to be more sheer. So there's kind of like this chevron pattern.
Right, I can see that. I can see that, yeah, of course. It's quite fine, isn't it?
It's going on an angle. So like it would be here. And the chevrons are going up on an angle from my V out to my shoulder. So I know this is the shape that I want, and this is the shoulder shape that I want. But then I started knitting the back right onto it so I could get the same shape. And this is where, it's hard to explain, I guess, but this is where I was thinking, well, I'll graft the whole lower part of the back onto this. Not happening. So I'm probably going to be ripping a lot of this out and redoing it. But okay, you know, if I can get to an end product that I'm happy with, I don't care if I have to rip the mohair out, like I will. It's small, it's a fairly small garment. So even though it's tiny needles and fine yarn, it's not taking all that long. What's taking long is that I rip it out and redo it. That's what's taking long.
For me, that would be quite a challenge.
It's a challenge. It's a challenge. And at the end of the day, I don't know if it's going to fit right or look right or be like what I'm shooting for. But I had that inspiration from that woman's beautiful, it's Just the black and white picture, it looks like it was probably black, and it had these sheer inserts, but it wasn't knit, it was fabric.
Yeah.
So the difference between the solid fabric and the sheer fabric was much more dramatic than what I'm getting.
It's a pity though that you couldn't find a very similar pattern, like from a vintage pattern, and then adjust it. Because I find it's probably for me, because I've never written a pattern, I find it easy to adjust from a pattern, you know, to make slight adjustments rather than create
Start from scratch, right?
Yeah, I don't think I've got the confidence to do that. Maybe one day I might, but at the moment,
worst case, I rip it all out and do something else. But I'm trying to get to a place.
Well, I'll keep my fingers crossed for you, Billy. You'll have to keep us updated.
Of course, this will get put aside when the yarn comes for your Mary Maxim, and that'll jump to the top of the pile.
So sorry, your Mary Maxim. So what have you changed the colours that you're going to do on that now?
The ones I showed you on that graph, that's those are the colors I'm hoping will come in. I ordered yarn from somewhere else.
So do you think are you going to send that back, the ones that you didn't like?
Yes.
You can. They will let you send it back.
Yes. It's a British company that has a big presence in the United States, Lovecrafts. Okay. Do you all know them?
I know Lovecrafts. Yeah, I order my wool from them.
Free shipping when your order's over a certain amount, and
really?
free return shipping. So,
well, even to you in the US, really?
Yeah, yeah.
That's
they
really
must
good.
ship out of some United States warehouse or something.
Yeah. But I get letters. I mean, I get emails from them every day with offers.
I get those as well. It's really like a big come on. But if you're looking for something and they send you 30% off, okay. I mean,
yeah, I have to just delete them because I haven't got any room for any yarn. So it's just like
I delete them too, and they're not the only company that I get them from. But for this particular yarn that I ordered from them, I waited until they had like a special offer, and my yarn was one of the featured yarns. Because, like I said, the bulky yarns, they're not that many of them.
I don't know. I mean, I have got quite a few in the cupboard. As you know, I'm a bit of a hoarder, and I've got loads of chunky yarns. You can get them on eBay. I don't know, like if US eBay is similar to the UK eBay, but there's loads of people selling yarn on the UK eBay, and you can get some really good, you know, you can get vintage chunky yarn, and some people actually use like double knit, but they double it up, don't they, to get a chunky yarn. I don't know, I've never done that before, but I know people
I would do that. I would do that, except not when you're involved with 3 colors. Then you're having like 6 balls of yarn twirling. I couldn't deal with that. I mean, 3 is going to be bad enough.
If you have your 2 balls of yarn and you run both strings through a straw and push that back, then
someone told me that recently.
Yeah. So then, if the yarn is, you know, your 2 and 2 and 2 are separate, they shouldn't mix more than your 3, but it is probably more hassle than just finding bulky.
Yeah.
So yeah, those will be going back. I didn't send them back yet because I want to have the new yarn in hand before I send it back, but I should. I mean, I should just send it back. So we're almost at an hour. I guess it's
wow.
I maybe to just. I know. And Jessica, I don't know what happened.
Oh, that's a shame.
She's really, really lovely. Well, I think it's really nice that you all got to meet. I'm so happy to see all of you again, and I think that we should put this on the calendar for, like, I don't know, again, maybe 6,
I think so.
6
Definitely.
or 12 months from now, and by then maybe there'll be other people, and we can keep growing our little show and tell family.
I think it'd be good fun, actually. Very good.
I think it's great to see what everybody's up to and what you're knitting. And yeah, I didn't want it to be like a one-hit wonder. So
Yeah.
thanks. I mean, does anybody have anything else that they want to share before we all say goodbye? I know parting is such sweet sorrow.
I'm just hoping this encourages my knit mojo a little bit, because I think I've burnt out a little. I've got 2 sweaters waiting to be seamed up and just haven't.
Well, maybe if you, I mean, would it hurt your hands if you seamed your sweaters as well then?
No, that's usually fine because it's not too intense.
So I think now then you need to give yourself a break from the knitting and seam up your jumpers. That would be an ideal break from knitting.
The one
I love your tank top that you're
so
wearing.
You were asking about steeking, but this is one that I bought as a cardigan out of a thrift, and then I made the vest. So
wow, that's amazing. That's really clever. That's brilliant. Yeah, I love that.
But if you're working well involved, steeking isn't a big deal. You could totally do that. I think we should take like a challenge for the next year and
have a go at steeking.
I have my challenge.
Yeah, I've got my challenge too.
I think my challenge always is to go back to the unfinished things and try and finish them. And I think the pandemic, that's for me one of the silver linings. There are other silver linings like Zoom. Zoom was like the biggest breakthrough of the 21st century, that regardless of where in the world you are, we can see and communicate with one another. I mean, I remember as a little girl, I went to the World's Fair when it was in New York, 1964, and they had the telephone of the future. So back in 64, they were already showing a little mock-up of a small box that would have like a small television screen in it, and you would be able to see the person you were talking to. 50 years ago.
Well, Billy, talking about 50 years ago, my husband and I, we've been watching an old 70s TV program for children that was called Time Slip. I don't know if you've heard it. It's a UK children's program. In the 1970s, it was black and white, and it was called Time Slip. And it's about 2 children that went back in time to the 1940s and met their father when he was young. Then they went forward in time and met their mother in the future. And then they went back in another sort of time slip, but it had different options of the future. And this was 50 years ago. And you know, on this program, they had it was like virtual reality. This woman in this episode, they was in, it was called Icebox, and they were in the North Pole or somewhere like Antarctica, and they had a computer that they all obeyed, and everything the computer told them to do was correct. They had virtual reality where they had this thing stuck on, went in this little room and they put this thing on their head and they were somewhere else. And this was 50 years ago. So virtual reality was something that people knew about 50 years ago.
But it didn't come to market. I mean, until recently. So I have bought stock in this company, Zoom. I've made a boatload of money. I'm like so happy with them. I mean, the stock's not doing well right now, but I've been in and out of it, and I just think it's so amazing. I've done a lot of other types of things on Zoom, but because of this pandemic, I got to meet all of you. I started my podcast during the pandemic because I thought, why not? I can. The technology is now there to be able to do this. My next step, this is my challenge for 2021 with my podcast. I would like to be able to do this live and have viewers communicating with us, like sending us questions and, you know, that we could interact with them. I don't know how to do that yet, to be perfectly honest. I know how to upload this, and I know how to do this live, but I don't know how to do live with viewers writing in. I think there might be some technology that I don't have, but my son is a computing whiz. He's got a master's degree in computer science. He's just busy applying to PhD programs. So I can't hit him up to help me just now, but in time I will. So, all right, everybody, we could just go on and on. I know I could yap all day, but thank you. It was really great to see you. Please stay in touch. I'll try and do the same, and to be
Merry
continued.
Christmas. Merry
Yeah,
Christmas, everyone.
have a
Merry
good holiday,
Christmas.
everyone, and a wonderful new year.
Holidays.
And let's just
Happy New
all
Year.
have a collective prayer that 2021 is going to be a different space.
And look forward to the Age of Aquarius from next week, the 21st, the Great Awakening.
Now that
Gonna
song
be the
is going to
Great
be playing in my head.
Oh, I love that song. You listen to it in the morning, Billy. It really makes you feel good. It's a really good, feeling good song of the 60s.
I was there. I remember.
Yeah. Well, it'll bring back memories then. But yeah.
All righty, everybody. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And Merry Christmas,
Enjoy the rest
everyone.
of the year. Let's close it out with a bang.
Happy knitting. Happy
Yes,
knitting,
you
everyone.
too. All right,
Take
bye.
care. Bye. Bye.